Are you looking to get ready, be prepared, and transform your financial future? Then you've come to the right place. This is the Get Ready Money podcast with Tony Stewart, where Tony has insightful conversations with financial experts who are changing the way we think about money. Catch up on the latest financial trends and hear practical advice from Tony and his expert guests so you can build healthy habits that work. Be empowered with tips for implementing small changes that can have a big impact on your financial future. So sit back and get ready to hear from today's guest.
Welcome to the Get Ready Money podcast, changing the way we think about money. I'm your host, Tony Stewart. Today, I'm joined by Merridith Gonzalez, Health and Wealth Concierge, and we're going to be diving into how women in midlife can prepare for the unexpected. Merridith, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Always love to spend time with you.
Yeah, you as well. And it's fun to do this the other way around after being on your show. Let's jump in. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your origin story, and how did it lead you to focus on helping empower women in midlife take control of this chapter of their lives?
Yeah, my origin story is I have a background in healthcare. And for 20 something years, I really supported families and patients and practitioners of all sorts. I worked in brain injury, spinal cord injury, I worked in prosthetics, orthopedics. So a wealth of different types of support with family and patients. And really, my change was a pivotal time in my career when I had a career change. And I felt lost and I felt chaotic, and I knew I couldn't be the only one. And so I realized that women in midlife needed support more than I knew because I from personal experience. And I wanted to be the one to provide that. So, as a health and wealth or a midlife concierge, I really, in my background, I just know so many people and I've known so many connections. And I think that's part of the thing. You don't know who you don't know, who you don't know who should be on your team. And so, what I'm able to do is help women understand maybe what their priorities are, what they're even challenged with right now. Maybe it's aging parents, maybe it's growing kids, maybe it's their own stuff and career change going on. And so I'm able to utilize my experience and skills and connections and just help women get on the right path.
That's cool because I think when you talk through it, there's so many things pulling at women in middle age. Is you mentioned parents, you mentioned kids, and I know we were talking pre-show, your kids are in college. I have a son in college, and so we have that. And I don't know about you, but we have my wife's mother is going through some things right now, and it's just like there's
Yeah.
things pulling at all of us all day.
It's true all day and every day. And it's really interesting because I feel like you have this idea of who you are supposed to be. And you're almost like your whole life, you're just kind of on this kind of hamster wheel. Well, now I'm supposed to take care of my getting a job, or here's my education, here's my job, here's my marriage, here's my kids. And you just keep rolling, rolling, rolling until there's a time where kids are off, and now it's time for you to come back to yourself and realize I'm important. And maybe what served me yesterday may not serve me anymore. I think too, interestingly with COVID, I think COVID almost pushed us in a place where if we were really happy and fulfilled with what we were doing, great. But a lot of people felt that either they weren't, and it was a time of life that they were ready to really find that purpose, that passion for themselves, or similar to my experience, my career kind of got shifted for me. And it wasn't until that happened and that occurred that I realized, oh my gosh, who am I? And then you're also dealing with, well, this is who I was supposed to be. This is who I've been my entire life. But it's allowing me to open my eyes to see who do I want to be moving forward. It's empowering and it is scary at the same time.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, it made me think of this old Oingo Boingo song, like "Who Do I Want to Be Today?" I think
Yeah.
that's how it goes. I don't know if you remember that, but
You
and it
gotta
goes through
remember
all
all
these things
those.
you can't be. You know?
Yep, yep, exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean? I think that's exactly it. It's really just really being honest and finding, and giving yourself some grace too. I think that that's been my journey is not being so hard on myself. And I wish I could have had the support that I offer women because I think I was going to, one professional, then a different professional. I was going around, to a couple different people that I thought might be able to solve my problem, but nobody was collaborative. And it took a lot of time and research to find out, well, who do I need for this aspect of my life, for my health, for my parents? And so I think for me, I was really able to fortunately make some really good connections. And now I can kind of help women not have to steer it alone. I can be that um, I can figure out the path for them that makes it maybe a little bit easier. Figure out the priorities.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and I'm almost thinking as you say the word concierge, we have the term life coach, but that concierge is almost an evolution of a life coach. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And so for me, I'm more of a consultant. I don't see myself as a coach. So for me, it's more of a one time you come to me and we figure out what's going on with your life. We figure out there might be a ton of things and in a lot of different areas, or it might just be in one area. And what I'll do is I'll make sense of what's going on, understand where you're coming from. I feel like where it used to start was I would have clients come to me and as a certified long-term care specialist, and really they were coming to me because mom and dad had something going on and they needed to figure out how am I going to pay for all this caregiving when the time came for me. And I realized that during our conversations, the first thing I needed to do was to let's get the oxygen mask on you first because you're dealing with so much chaos with mom and dad. But you also need these resources. So, home care, senior communities, um, a state attorney for power of attorney, things like this, a financial planner. Do mom and dad have enough money? A mortgage? I mean, there's so many people that I can introduce this woman to. It's typically the adult daughter that I deal with, not always. Um, and just make sure that this individual had the right resources so they could then breathe and then we could take care of them. And this is really how everything morphed for me because I realized I was more than, selling an insurance policy to somebody. It really was, who is this collaborative team that we can put together? And I love you with your dream team, and it's so true. It's more than one professional that's really going to support us as we really want to look at retirement and want to be planned for it. I am not a financial planner, but I partner with fantastic financial planners and other professionals as well. And I just want to make sure that what we've planned for, most of us, we get a job out of college and we have our 401k and we think our company's benefits are our retirement plan, but they're not. It's really just it is some money that we have, but it's not gonna pay for everything that we're gonna need. And it's not all the resources that we're going to need. So kind of back to that, that's really how everything started was really connecting women in midlife to connections for mom and dad and realized they also needed their own support system, their home community, which I think women are thriving for in today's time.
Yeah, well, I love that. Well, one, I want to give a shout out to Julie Pinkerton, who's
Yes.
the one who connected us, who's a super connector for people who know Julie or don't know Julie. She's somebody to reach out to.
Mhm.
Um, I think something you said, I think this cannot be iterated enough, is to put on your own oxygen mask first. Is
Mhm.
A reason for that is that you have to be able to take care of yourself first before you can help someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so easy to get caught up in caring for everybody else that you tend to forget to take care of yourself, which is when you get sick and then you can't help anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, you think about this too, and the more I'm learning, the more professionals. And in addition to my business, MG Trusted Alliance, where I do consult women and I am a midlife concierge, I've really found that that's my purpose. And I have found a passion as well. So myself as a woman in midlife, going through my own healthcare challenges, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I've got a lot of like diagnoses coming on, but menopause, and all the challenges that are happening. It's not only it's our bodies, it's our mind, it's our identity, it's our careers. There's so much going on. So I have also founded a group called Mamas in Menopause, to build community for women who need support. So sometimes you need connections, and I need to connect you to the right professional that's going to help you with your oxygen mask. But I think at this time more than ever is, we had, the community of our kids, friends and the baseball teams and all of our life were naturally building communities. All of us are building communities. And then all of a sudden we hit this one pivotal part of our life where kids are leaving, parents are aging, things are going away from us, perhaps. And now we need to find community. So that's why I founded Mamas in Menopause. It's an in-person in Los Angeles. And we meet the last Sunday of every month in person, and we have different speakers every single month. We have a Facebook group where women can come and be engaged. So it's kind of a combination right now of my life and morphing of passion and purpose. And I'm finding my own oxygen mask. I have found it and able to provide it for others too. It's really empowering.
That's awesome. And for people watching and listening, I'll get links from Meredith. So those will be in the show notes. Um, Maybe people can reach out to you about starting their own chapters in Mamas and Menopause. You could be onto a big idea there.
Exactly, exactly. Happy to support. And I have found that too, especially women in this time of life, that we have found this little like someone coined it a mamapreneur and and a multipreneur. So I think women in this space are really finding coming into their own voices and happy to support any way we can. So thank you very much. I appreciate you sharing where they can find me for sure.
Definitely, definitely. So, maybe to just walk back to it is because it sounds like, and you've said this is that midlife is a critical turning point for women. So how does that impact their money and their planning? Why is it a critical time to make changes and to rethink their plan?
Yeah, well, I think kind of what I alluded to a little bit in the past, where I think we went about our life and we put money in our 401k or whatever you have, and you thought it was enough. And while it might be, people really didn't plan for aging and having chronic illness and injury, and that can occur at any time. We're finding friends of mine at younger ages that are being diagnosed with cancers and other diseases. Um, but we're in our society, we're not planning for the caregiving that's needed. And unfortunately, our healthcare system is and should be recoined a sick care system because the insurance companies and Medicare, they're going to pay when you're sick. They're not paying for you to be healthy. And so I think that is a very rude awakening as we age and we get into midlife. And we are now thrown into this with mom and dad. And we're seeing, number one, how much time and energy goes into helping mom and dad with whatever support they need, whether it's financial or physical. But it is that cost that people just don't really realize how expensive caregiving is and how much time is required. So I think for me, I really want to, it's such a pivotal time because it's being thrown in our face and we now have to deal with it. And so if we can figure out maybe some solutions on what's working for us to help mom and dad. But number one, we don't want to put that same burden on our kids. How can we do things differently? I don't think our parents meant to leave us, with this burden or put on this burden on us. It's just what has happened. So we're really at a great point right now that as women in midlife, 40, 50s, 60s, we could be better planned and prepared for ourselves, our futures, but also our kids.
Yeah, well, I think as you put it so well is, well, one, there's terms of time, but I think what's also important is that nobody planned for this because who knew that life expectancies would be so much longer than a generation ago?
Yeah,
Um, that our parents are living for the most part into their 80s and 90s with some minor, in a lot of cases, minor mobility issues and, relatively good health, where 20 years ago, if you were 80 years old, you were 80 years old, and it was pretty clear. And it was an
yeah,
anomaly for people to be living into their 90s and able to do things. And now, my dad's 90, he drives, I mean, he only drives during the day, he's a little limited, but, not dramatically limited like,
yeah.
you would think. And so it's like, yeah, how could somebody plan for that? Because it's never happened before. So,
Yeah, I mean, you have the combination of people are living longer with more chronic illnesses, and you have the advancement of medicine. And so people are now, their life expectancies are longer. And I think when people used to visualize it, okay, mom and dad got older, they were sick, they were in a rehab center that Medicare paid for, and then they passed away. Now it looks so different. Mom and dad maybe get sick, there's something that happens, there's maybe some medication, there's some kind of, intervention of some sort. And now, okay, as long as they're safe at home, they're living at home. Okay, so what is that going to cost to have a caregiver? Because we can't stop our jobs, or that's kind of what's happening right now is women are, in particular, have to leave their jobs to take care of mom and dad, but we can't do it as much because now we have our careers and our kids and everything else that's involved. So it's either home care, and then now it's looking, if they're not safe at home, how to move them into senior community. And while some of this, depending on how things work out, is paid for, a lot of it is not. Caregiving and really that support with activities of daily living is not supported by our healthcare system right now. And so it is just such a different picture today than it used to be, to your point.
yeah, so I think that's so important. So, what are just a couple of steps women can start to take to prepare for the financial impact of these unexpected health events?
If I can say anything, it is learn, be curious, because what you don't know is there's an answer. And it doesn't mean that there's not I guess for me, I just feel like people are so afraid to reach out to ask questions because they assume that people are going to pressure them, or they're afraid to ask because I feel like maybe in the past you would reach out to a financial professional or someone, an attorney or someone, and they were speaking in languages that you didn't really understand. It wasn't relatable. Everything went over your head. And I think now learn and really find community, find people that that you trust. And that's why I love what I do, because I connect people with really trusted, curated professionals that are an extension of me, so that we were speaking to women in a way that they're now the decision makers. They want to be knowledgeable about the decisions that they're making. So I guess that's what I would say. Learn, be curious, build community, and really find someone who's going to connect you with the right resources.
And I think that's really important. Find someone who's can connect you with the right resources, because I think in financial services, there's oftentimes been this, well, I can take care of that. But when we think about the medical field, doctors are very clear about what they can take care of and what they don't take care of. They
Yeah.
don't say, well, I think I feel pretty good about podiatry, so I'll do a little bit of podiatry. Like, I've
Yeah,
never written a long-term care insurance policy, but maybe I'll write one. It doesn't
exactly.
mean you can't expand your business, but it's like,
Yeah,
you have to understand your limitations and you have to understand the limitations of the professional you're seeing. You can't expect your auto insurance person to be an expert with every type of insurance coverage under the
yeah,
sun. It's just not practical. Um,
yeah.
so,
I was going to add on that point, like a doctor, when you have something that's going on, the doctor asks a lot of questions. Number one, to make sure that they understand what's going on with you, but two, if they're the right specialist for you. So I think a lot of times when people go to some kind of financial professional, they're afraid to answer questions, but it really is, it's for us to get a little diagnosis till we understand um, who you are, what your goals are, and if I'm actually the right professional and love your dream team and how we all and Julie and how we all connect people is if I'm not the right specialist for you, I'm going to be very honest and I'm going to say, I love that you were curious. I'm so glad that you came for information. Here's what I see. I see your best fit would be connecting with this person or that one. And I personally do warm introductions. I don't just give someone a phone number and say, call this person. You already have a list of sticky notes of people you need to call. So for me, what I do is a warm introduction by email or text, whatever people prefer, and just make sure I get that professional involved. And what I love about that too is if for any reason somebody's not communicating, I can be an advocate for both the professional and the client and see how I can be supportive.
yeah, so I have a question because I think the financial services industry has done itself a tremendous disservice because there have been so many questionable sales and products and techniques that
Yeah,
understandably people don't want to open up to financial professionals because and for good reason, they don't trust the financial services industry. And so how can, financial professionals start to differentiate themselves? And, one of the questions we had talked about for the show is to better support women and to
yeah,
have better conversations with women.
yeah. Collaboration. Women love community. And I think that that's one thing that I think gets lost is kind of that coordination of all these different professionals. And I think that it'll make women feel a lot more safe and secure and supported is when they come to me and and they trust me and I am able to ask the right questions of them, who I'm going to connect them to next is not someone who's going to be transactional and just wants to gather their information to sell them something. They're going to gather that information and identify their goals. And that's why for me, it's so important. I meet with so many people, and I'll be honest, there's some professionals I meet with, and they're amazing people, but they're not an extension of me. And then I meet with some professionals, and I know right away, or sometimes it takes it's years. Some people I've been years and years of relationships with that I just know that they lead with their heart like I do. I want the best interest. I'm working in my client's best interest. I'm an advocate for them. And those are the people that connect and collaborate and really like going back to that coordination. That's who I coordinate with.
Yeah, well, I think you said something very important here that is different than the typical outlook is that you're an advocate for your client. And I think a lot of us in financial services tend to lose sight of this is that we are advocates for our clients. And even when we refer someone to them, uh, refer them to another professional, is that we have an obligation to them because
Yeah,
they are our clients. And we should
yeah,
be looking out for them because when we refer them, the client assumes that we're referring them to somebody who knows what they're doing and is going to
yeah.
take good care of them. So,
I couldn't agree more. And what I love about that is that they trust me enough to then come to me and say, hey, I don't know why. Maybe it's personality, maybe it's timing, maybe whatever it happens to be. I really appreciate you connecting with this person. They're a really good person. They're not the right person for me. So they can come back to me and say, okay, great. That wasn't the right fit. Let me connect you with someone else that is going to be a good fit. So that's exactly how I work. You just, who being an advocate for your patient, for I say patient because I come from a healthcare background, for your client is really first and foremost. And that's the way that I think about it. Absolutely, I'm an advocate. I want to make sure it's the right connection, the right fit, the right person so they can meet their goals.
Yeah, and I think, we could probably drop the show here. And I think because that is a great takeaway. Do have a few more questions for you, so we're not wrapped up quite yet. But, to be an advocate for your client and to flip-flop it, if you're a consumer, you want advisors who are going to advocate for you. As we talk about that again,
Mhm.
to go back to the healthcare field, is that we're told to advocate for ourselves with our healthcare providers if we have a medical condition or we know somebody who has a medical condition. And it's the same thing. We should have high standards for the
Mhm.
people in our lives.
Agreed. Agreed. And I think we're finally feeling like we do have that voice. It is okay to question that professional, whether it's a doctor or an advisor. And it is okay to walk in there with ideas, things that have worked for you. I think the way that we're consuming information and even gathering information, we're walking in the door more educated than any consumer ever was before. And so the professionals have, if they're the right ones, they welcome that. And that's wonderful. And being able to have your own voice and partner with a professional that is sharing that kind of energy exchange with you, that's really the right connection.
Yeah, partner with a professional who's sharing with you. And I think that's really important. And as you go back, one thing so is with that information is I think the downside, and I've heard this from healthcare practitioners, and sorry if I'm going back, but I know you have a background
Yeah.
in uh, health insurance, I mean, in the healthcare field, is that I know doctors hate it when you go in there and say, "Ooh, I saw this medication advertised on TV. I think it's the right one for me."
All right.
So,
Right.
so at the same time, you have to understand that professionals, but I think that goes to your point that professionals do have to take it into account, because if we went to a physician and said, "Ooh, they said I should take this pill on TV," and a
Hmm.
physician immediately nicks the idea without explaining why, we wouldn't be happy. And financial service professionals will often take that approach. Oh no, you don't want to do that. That's just a bad idea, without giving it any
Yeah.
context.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head right there. So when you walk into a doctor or any kind of professional, and you're going in with an idea of what you think you need, you're only basing it on what your knowledge. So you might be ignorant or you might be totally um, knowledgeable and you've done your research and you have all the right information. But how that professional receives that, and then like you're saying, doesn't just nix it, but explains why maybe that's not the right thing and helps you understand. Or when they are open enough to listen and go, huh, I hadn't thought about that. I love that you researched that and you brought it to me because now I know your perspective. I actually do have a client that worked with me the other day. Um, I've connected him to a financial professional that's doing all of his retirement strategies. And he called me asking me some questions. And of course, first and foremost, I'm like, first of all, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed to give you any advice. Um, but he had these ideas, and I said, I love where you're coming from with this. Here's where I would approach the financial advisor with these questions and just helped him with the right questions and things to ask. So it really goes a long way when the professional that you're working with listens and understands and is receiving of the research that you've done. That says a lot about the confidence of the professional you're working with.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head is that professionals should listen to you and make
Yeah.
you feel seen and heard. And I've had a lot of women on the podcast, and we talk about the stat that 80 to 90% of widows and divorcees will leave their current financial planner. And the answer pretty much is always that they don't feel seen and heard
Yeah.
by the current planner or advisor. So it's exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, let's switch gears. This is to close out the show, what I call the Get Ready Hot Take Trio. And these are three questions, more rapid fire in nature that I ask all of my guests. The first
Okay.
one is, what money myth are you trying to break?
What money myth am I trying to break? That your retirement plan is built with your corporate job. Your 401k is not your retirement plan. It is a portion of it. You need a
Uh,
holistic plan.
yeah, I love that. And I just coming, my background specifically insurance. Is your employer insurance is almost never enough. Your employee
Yeah,
benefits is a great starting point, but it's never enough. So definitely
exactly.
100% with you on that. So let's get out the time machine for the next question. What advice would you give yourself going back in time, knowing what you know now about money?
Ooh. Um, that we are going to need a lot more for caregiving, that it is going to be a place that we need to and bigger than us need to be invested in because we don't know who's going to do this for us. So make caregiving a priority when you're doing your planning.
I love that. And I'm working on a new project where I'm going to be really incorporating caregiving and creating an aging plan as part of sort of planning for life's what ifs. Is I can't
Hmm.
quite share the project because it's still somewhat underway,
Yes,
but a big part of that is that we need to plan our health and these issues that we're talking about, that this has to be part of our aging plan, and our aging plan has to be part of our financial plan, that they
couldn't
can't.
agree more. Couldn't agree more. Yep.
So I love that advice. So last one is, what is your number one tip for changing the way we think about money?
Be smart. And I think I keep going back to community. People really want to work with people that they know and trust. And so when you have community, they are sharing, they're collaborating. So yeah, that would be my tip. Don't Google. Don't Google your next professional.
Oh, Google. Well, I think Google is on its way out anyway. Well, maybe not on its way out, but I think yeah, it's the days of Google are changing. So, Meredith, where can people learn more about you, the Mamas and Menopause group, and the Health and Wealth podcast?
Yeah, yeah. So LinkedIn is usually the best place to find me, Merridith Gonzalez. And so Midlife Concierge, you'll get all the information about who I am, how I support women in midlife. I do also have a little link on there to my Mom is a Menopause group. But in case you're not on LinkedIn and you just want to find me on other socials, I have a Facebook group. We're engaging. You can join the group. It'll give you information virtually, but then we also do in-person events and wellness days and retreats and things like that. But I also am on TikTok, which is, as a woman in midlife, my kids were cringing at me that I was going to be on TikTok. Here I am, getting more comfortable in front of the camera. So Mamas in Menopause is my TikTok handle, as they call it. And it's really just fun. It's really day in a life stuff on the Mamas and Menopause TikTok. The Facebook group is a little bit more about the community and how to get involved.
That's awesome. And for everybody watching and listening, as mentioned earlier, there will be links to all of these things in the show notes so you can get in touch with Meredith or check out the Mamas and Menopause group. So, Meredith, thanks for coming on the show today and sharing your insights.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's always fun. And I think in today's time, people really want to get to know us. And I think, you know, being in a platform where people can get to know us and hear us and learn about us it builds that trust a little bit faster, and they understand who you are. So thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, it's a pleasure, and I think you've got such a powerful message that needs to get out there. That this is it's about taking care of yourself, but that it's also about thinking about these bigger issues. Because one of the things we didn't talk about were specific financial services and products. We talked about concept and mindset and all these other things. So it's wonderful, I think, having these conversations. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you and the work that you're doing as well. So
and you. I appreciate you as well.
thanks. And Julie, thanks for putting us together if you're listening,
Thanks,
Julie.
Julie.
And thank you, everyone, as always, for tuning in to this episode of the Get Ready Money podcast. If you learned something today to change the way you think about money, please be sure to subscribe and to share this episode with a friend. You can also go to my website at tonystewart.com to join the Get Ready movement, receive the Get Ready newsletter with all my recommendations, and get access to the Get Ready toolkit with a whole bunch of free resources. Until next time, let's change the way we think about money.